Welcome to Judicial Dollars and Cents, brought to you by Anders Virtual CFO Services team from all across the United States. I'm John Scott, and in each episode, we'll shine a light on the financial side of the legal world, turning law firm numbers into impact-driven stories. From taxes and profitability to practice growth and leadership, we sit down with law firm innovators who are shaping the future of the profession. Let's dive in, right here on Judicial Dollars and Cents. Hey, welcome back to Judicial Dollars and Cents, the podcast where we dive into the business side of running a law firm. I'm John Scott with Anders Virtual CFO Services for law firms, and each week we talk with industry experts who help law firm leaders think differently about growth, profitability, and performance so they can build practices that last. Today we welcome Kelsea Eckert. Kelsea is the founder of Eckert Associates PA. It's a law firm focused on insurance recovery and downtime claims, particularly for trucking companies, fleets, and owner-operators navigating not-at-fault accidents and disruptions to their business. Licensed in both Illinois and Florida, Kelsea's built a national practice helping transportation professionals recover lost income and protect their operations. She's a frequent speaker and published author with insights featured in industry outlets such as Transportation Topics, Landline Media, and Service Truck Magazine. Kelsea is known for breaking down complex legal concepts into practical strategies for business owners that they can actually use. Kelsea, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, John. I'm happy to be here.
It's so good to have you here. And I always like to start these things out with finding out, how did you get here? Take me from, I want to go to law school, to running your own transportation defense firm.
Right. Well, I'm from Illinois. My dad was an attorney. My brother's an attorney. Why not be an attorney?
You never had a choice.
I know. But anyway, I love small businesses. I just appreciate how much they contribute to our nation. And I appreciate truckers. And so really our focus is on those small trucking businesses, owner operators, and those guys and gals that really need a little more help. So the way I got into trucking, or the representing truckers, was, I would say, back in when I was about 20 years old, I was going to the University of Georgia, and I had this boyfriend back in Illinois, and it was Valentine's Day. And it was a cold and stormy day up in Illinois, but it was nice in Georgia. So I jumped in my little Chevy Chevette back in those days, you didn't have a cell phone, you didn't have credit cards or anything. And I figured I would just go home and surprise him. So I got up into the mountains of Tennessee and got stuck in a snowstorm.
Oh, boy.
And the nicest ABF driver was able to basically save the day. And since then, I've just had a heart for truckers. I appreciate how much they are, they used to be called the Knights of the Road because nobody else had cell phones or whatever. They had the
CB radios, yeah.
Yeah. And so I just appreciate the opportunity to give back. Our whole office does. And, we feel like we're helping society and helping the small guy.
So this is a unique niche of law that you don't see a lot of firms in. So this gap in the market where fleets and owner operators weren't being fully compensated, how did that happen? I mean, I guess you get a couple of matters, a couple of cases, and you become the transportation person or firm?
Yeah, as far as I know, this is I'll say this. Most attorneys want to do things like personal injury where there's big opportunities for a potential check. So our cases are typically much smaller, but they are big situations for small businesses out there. So we do a lot of cases for a smaller amount of money. So these are cases, we probably have 500 or 600 cases going at any one time. And these are cases that are probably only $20,000 to $100,000. So they're smaller things, but it makes the world of difference. For example, let's say you're a truck driver, you're an owner operator, and you're running down the road. A car comes along and hits you. Suddenly you are down. That car is insured with, let's say, Progressive. Progressive understands how to fix your truck. But let's say you're down for 2 months while you're waiting on the parts and all that. You're an owner operator. You go from that income to paying the expenses. You can get upside down so quickly. And Progressive and most of the other insurance companies out there, they, a lot of the adjusters just don't know. They don't understand downtime or loss of use. They don't understand that they need to pay for it. So we come in, we might not even be handling the repairs on your truck, but we are handling those other things, those consequential losses, like your downtime, lost income, like your diminished value. Your truck is now, you just try to go sell it after the accident versus before the accident. It's not going to be worth as much. And so we help calculate all that and get that back for the client.
In my experience, Progressive is one of the worst at underpaying claims. And so if you can get more money out of them, I applaud you. I think they spent all their money on flow.
There you go. Honestly, we haven't had that much of a problem with Progressive. It's typically more the self-insured trucking companies or some of the self-insured businesses that sit really tight on their pocketbook or their wallet. So, yeah.
So let's talk about downtime claims, because you're right. Fixing the truck is easy to figure out what it's going to cost to fix the truck. But for those of us that are maybe unfamiliar with that, how do you calculate the downtime? Is it a lost revenue, net revenue, or how do you do that?
Basically, yes. And so there's not one size that fits all for every semi that's out there. Every business makes something different. It's just like all your other listeners' businesses. Each day they might make something different. With each client, they might make something different. So if you're the trucker and one day you've got a load that's going to pay you $2,000 and the next day $500 and the next day $1,500, there's a small group of truck businesses out there that have what's called dedicated loads, and they might make the same thing day after day after day. But most folks are pulling off of a load board, which means they're going to pick this one. I want to go to California. Now I want to go to Minnesota and that type of thing. So let's, in our scenario where you get hit by the Progressive driver, you might not know where you're going to be for the next 60 days. So how do you do that? How do you calculate that? There's, you can't figure out that exact number. So you have to look at history of what you are making before. And whether that's a month before, 3 months before, a year before, it just kind of depends on the situation. But we certainly want to create the highest reasonable calculation for our clients that we can.
So if my typical auto insurance that I have, and it's good insurance, and I'm probably overinsured, but if I was the responsible party here and wrecked this into a semi and put it out of commission, I always thought, well, certainly I would pay for the repairs, but does that same policy cover the downtime as well?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. Usually, you're talking about the liability portion of your policy, and usually that will cover all of those consequential losses that go with the damage.
Okay. What is important for a driver in the first 24 to 48 hours after an accident? What should they do immediately to protect themselves and protect their claim?
That's a good question. And before any accident actually happens, get that dash cam in your truck. It is just that has saved so many cases. And then once the accident happens, securing that film, because so often, even though there's a dash cam there, it gets overwritten or it doesn't get saved in whatever way. And man, that can do that. That is just everything that needs to happen. So around the accident scene, we actually have a checklist of what to do, and we can send this to your listeners or viewers.
We can put it in the show notes. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a flyer that can be put in your glove box, and ensure the safety of all. Call 911, file a police report. Golly, you might have somebody on the other side that says, "Hey, I'll give you cash. We don't need to file a police report." Never do that. Always get the police report. Take photos and videos. Secure that dash cam footage. Get witness information. If there's somebody there, get their name and their contact information, because they are vital. You might have a bad driver who admits at the scene that they were at fault, but give them a day or two to figure out that, that's a bad thing to admit to. And suddenly, it changes. So get the at fault parties all their information, file an insurance claim, prove liability. Every case has 2 steps. The first step is proving liability. The second step is proving damages, or how much you're out. You could have $1 million in damages, and if you can't prove that the other side's at fault, you get nothing. So document your losses in timeline, mitigate damages, and then if you need legal help, call a good lawyer.
I love all those tips, especially the dash cam, and any rideshare that you're in typically has a dash cam now, and I'm sure that's the reason they have it, is to document what actually happened. And I'm going to suggest that to at least one of my children, who seems not to be a very good driver. Not sure where that came from, but we'll see. So you have a high volume practice. What case management system do you use to manage that practice?
It's called CMP, Case Master Pro. They are locally, and they do a lot of law firms.
Do they have any AI capabilities? Are they introducing any AI capabilities?
Yes, they are. And we've also done some other things outside AI as well to so we are integrating some of our ideas with CMP's abilities to especially when we have our truck driver clients, we need a lot of documents from them. We need the police report and their estimates and invoices and their settlement sheets and all that. And so they send us a dump of information. And so we are currently we currently manage this. Okay, that's a police report. Okay, label it police report. And to be able to have AI do all of that for us and put it in the right spots we're getting there. We're 80% there.
Well, that's great. And I think once you get closer to 100% and have a little bit of human interaction to make sure it's categorized right, it's going to free up some time for your team, which is going to be great for you to create some capacity.
Right.
When we look at dealing with an insurance company whose obviously their incentive is to deny and pay as little as they can, what strategies have you learned over the years to get over that hump? Nobody wants to deal with the insurance company, but you all specialize in it. So are there any tips or tricks that to help with that?
Yeah. Moving on up, right up to the supervisors. Insurance companies, like everybody, all these big companies these days, they've cut out a lot of the management folks. And so you've got the folks that answer the phone, and then you've got the vice presidents. And it seems like, and I'm exaggerating, but anyway, a lot of times the folks that answer the phone or the baseline adjusters, they might not have the authority to accept or to offer to resolve the case for something reasonable. So, I mean, we were fortunate. We got to the right person on a Geico file here recently, and got them to write a check paid in full for $96,000. So
that's awesome. And that's great advice. It's the same advice that we see with the IRS. If we have an audit or an inquiry going on, a lot of times the people that you're dealing with don't have the authority to make decisions. And so sometimes in an audit, we'll say, okay, write it up, and we'll go to the appeals officer who has the ability to deal a little more.
That's absolutely, it's the same thing.
So you have this national niche practice. So I imagine you get a lot of attorneys that refer work to you because you can't be in every state, you can't advertise everywhere or get your name out there. But is that how you get a lot of cases?
Um, it's multiple ways. It through things like podcasts, and radio shows, and we do a lot of blogging and educational work. Uh, and then we get some referrals from other attorneys, but then we refer back to those attorneys as well. So in those instances where where the other side just will not settle for something reasonable, then let's say it's in Utah, we will refer that to a Utah attorney to file suit. We stay involved, but we make sure that the case gets managed all the way through judgment and settlement. So, yeah.
So is there any advice that you could have to the owner operator or the fleet owner about how much coverage they should have and what types of policies they have? So many individuals, not business owners, will take the cheapest policy, and they might go to a Progressive because it's cheaper. But in the end, if you're underinsured, and I have a little bit of experience with this in my family where my elderly father-in-law was in an auto accident in his mid to late 80s, and it was his fault, and there was some injuries on the other side. Nobody died, but he ended up going into his pocket to write a check. So what's the typical coverage that an owner operator or a fleet owner should have to sleep at night?
Okay. Yeah. So a lot of owner operators must have at least $1 million in liability coverage. Otherwise, they'll get bumped off of the roads. And of course, physical damage coverage to cover the repairs to their truck. But one thing that a lot of owner operators don't really have a lot of oftentimes is the uninsured motorist or the underinsured motorist. And if they do, it's the uninsured or underinsured bodily injury. But what is often forgotten is the uninsured or underinsured property damage coverage. And the initials are UMPD and UIMPD. And what that means is you get some little teenager that's coming along in their old Camry that has, I don't know, in California, I think it's $5,000 of minimum coverage or something. Anyway, and runs into the truck, causes 40,000 in repairs and say another 40,000 in downtime or loss of use. $80,000 ain't going to go, that $5,000 policy ain't going to go far. So nobody wants to file a claim on their own insurance. However, sometimes it's just absolutely vital and very helpful to have. So that 5,000 can be tapped in addition to their own underinsured motorist property damage coverage of the 75 to make them whole again.
Yeah, that's good advice. And there's a lot of uninsured motorists out there. In Missouri, you have to prove you have insurance to get licensed, but you can drop it right afterwards and just, it's expensive to pay for insurance, but it's what you're paying for is the privilege to drive and be responsible.
It's pretty bad in Florida as well. Definitely bad in Florida.
So you're in the Jacksonville area in Florida, but you all take cases nationwide, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What's one of the most bizarre, fun cases that you've worked on in your career?
Bizarre and fun. Well, there are so many. Okay, so there are very many interesting stories. We have gotten more cases from an article that I wrote, "Can I Sue the Cow That Hit My Truck?" Than maybe anything. But anyway, it's always a black Angus cow on a black asphalt road at 2:00 in the morning. So
it was a bad fence that let that cow out.
Yeah. And it was and so typically it is one of two things: either act of God, where all of a sudden there's a lightning strike and the fence is broken and the cows get out, or it is negligence in some way of the farmer for failing to maintain the gate or the fence or those type of things. And so when we can show that the farmer was negligent, then we can go after the farmer's insurance or whatever. And so one time we had a farmer that swore up and down that he kept his cattle, his all of his animals in fences, and this was a case where I think um, there were probably 8 or 10 Angus out on the road, and our guy hit a couple of them. Um, but anyway, farmer, no, I maintain all this. Anyway, we called around to the neighbors nearby, and one of the neighbors said, "Oh, Joe," or whatever his name was, "his goats are on our porch about every morning. So, and those cows are wandering around in the fields." So anyway, you get a written statement, or I think it was a recorded statement from that neighbor. They paid us the claim, no problem.
I will defend him a little bit. You can't keep a goat in a fence. I don't care if it's a woven wire and extra tall. That goat's going to figure out a way to get out of that fence. They can crawl through just about anything. My
Yes.
neighbors have goats, and they've got good fencing, and the goats are in my property all the time. Good thing is I like them. I think they're cute, but cows are a little easier to keep in inside the fence. But goats,
Well,
not going to work.
thankfully, that adjuster on the other side didn't know that about goats. Yeah.
Hey, I know you like to travel, and tell me about your favorite trip and country and why.
Oh, I have a special heart for the people of the Czech Republic. They certainly went through a lot during the Cold War, and I started helping businessmen, businesswomen soon after the wall came down, and we were bringing business executives over to Jacksonville, Florida, to learn business ways here. The Jacksonville Chamber was very helpful with that, and I always had some Czech guy or Czech girl living in my house. And so I've probably been to the Czech Republic 35 plus times.
Wow.
And initially early on, I started importing beer barrels from the Czech Republic to the U.S.
Were these wooden beer barrels?
No, they were stainless steel.
Okay.
Yeah, very.
And someone here was purchasing them?
Yes. I had a company here purchasing them for sale with some of the big breweries, and so they were stainless steel. They were originally in, I guess, meters, and we had to change them here to gallons and do a little bit of finagling. This is back in the day of fax machines, and I looked at some files the other day, and the fax paper they're absolutely blank. There's nothing, no letters left on that. Those
It
fax
just fades away.
fades away. Yeah. So
And one more thing I want to ask you is, growing up in Bloomington, I imagine the fanship between baseball teams was split between Cardinals and Cubs.
well,
Where do you land in that rivalry?
well, since you're from St. Louis, I would say I probably land on the correct side. So yes, our family, all Cardinals fans. Yeah, do or die.
It's a great rivalry, and I have two children that live in Wrigleyville now. Hopefully
Oh,
not forever, but uh, they overpay for tickets when the Cards are in town. So it's been great.
yeah.
Hey, before we wrap up, what's a great way for listeners to get a hold of you and your firm?
Oh, downtimeclaims.com or 1-800-DOWNTIME. And so we have a lot of information on our website, on downtimeclaims.com. And they can also sign up to receive our blog every couple of weeks. It's not all about just property damage claims. We have a lot of guest writers writing things that are of interest and entertaining for the trucking community.
Kelsey, this has been great. I've loved learning about you and your firm.
Thank you.
And thank you all for tuning in to Judicial Dollars and Cents. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps us grow and ensures you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time on Judicial Dollars and Cents. Thanks for joining us on Judicial Dollars and Cents, presented by Anders Virtual CFO Services. If you found value in today's conversation, be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcast. To learn more about how Anders helps law firms strengthen their financial foundations and drive growth, visit anderscpa.com. Until next time, keep making smart decisions that make perfect sense.